this is the programming software and what she's doing. Hold on, I'm going to pause it.
Ready?
Okay. So this is the programming software. This is the computer that we hook up. It's actually hooked up to the implant that's on her head right now. And all these different bars represent the different electrodes. So that's how much current we're putting in to each of those electrodes. And so those kind of represent the different pitches that match up with the different pitches that are in the cochlea. So we start off by measuring their comfort levels. We want to get it to where it's loud but not uncomfortable for all those pitches. So far the microphone hasn't been turned on. We've just been going through the computer. And the microphone's about to be turned on so she can actually hear. I like to show that video for a couple reasons. One, it's one of the best parts of my job. And then two, she hit on something that's experienced by a lot of implant users. One is that when you first turn it on, it does sound really mechanical because it's an electrical signal and your brain's not used to it yet. I've heard people say everybody sounds like Donald Duck, they sound like they're coming through one of the speakers at Sonic, something like that, where they know that it's speech, but it's hard to know what the words are. And when her husband was talking to her about halfway through, you couldn't see because he was holding my camera, but he put his hand like this and he said, "Can you hear what I'm saying?" She has, for so many years, she has relied a lot on visual cues. And so, I mean, you can't really expect them right off the bat to be not relying on that. So, it's not really, something that where you turn it on and they hear the way that you and I hear with normal hearing. It is a process. It is, a really different signal, and so it does take a long time to get used to that. There are 3 manufacturers that make these. I'm just going to kind of really quickly pass these around. So Med-El is one, that's the one I was holding up. So this is the external part, and that's the internal of the receiver and the electrode. And then Cochlear Americas has another one. And I mean, really, they're all going to do the same thing. They just look a little bit different on the outside. And then I also brought this one. This is Advanced Bionics. They also have an ear level processor. But one of their big marketing things was they now have one that's completely waterproof. So you hook this up, you can put this on an armband, you can go swimming, so you can wear it all the time. So that's just a different processor. sound like. It's going to be the same sentence over and over.
You're fine.
Okay. Initially, cochlear implants just had one channel on that electrode. So you had one shot to get all the sound into the cochlea. There was one electrode that stimulated the entire cochlea. So sounds really weren't very clear because it's kind of like trying to play a piano that only has one key. You're going to get pattern recognition. You might be able to kind of pick out, some information. But the more channels you have, the more it can divide the sound, the better it can analyze the sound, and so the more it's going to sound like natural sound. This one. Okay. So this is going to be the same sentence with 1 channel, 2 channels, 4 channels, 8 channels, 16, 32, and then the last one is the original sentence. So with 32 channels, I mean, you could start to understand it even with maybe 8 or 16 channels, but even with 32, it didn't sound the same as the original sentence. So I'm told that mechanical sound people eventually get used to, and your brain kind of makes sense of it. That it's kind of a mystery as to exactly how it works. How your brain makes sense of it is really, I think, pretty amazing, but it actually works. And then I just finally, last slide, just some take-home points. They're an option when hearing aids don't do enough, especially for understanding speech. It's electric hearing, not acoustic. It doesn't restore hearing. I think that's also important. So even people with implants, if they are deaf, they are still deaf with an implant. It just replaces hearing. It's not a quick fix. It takes a long time to get used to, and it's not a cure for hearing loss. There is research being done that's trying to cure hearing loss, but we're not there yet. So, okay, questions?
So when you say a person that's deaf is still deaf even with it, but they can still hear after that, right? With the signals.
Right, yeah, so they can hear. And kids are a little bit different. The way I explained it was kind of the way an adult goes about getting an implant is they wear hearing aids and they don't understand speech. They can understand maybe half of what's said, even with their, they can have the best hearing aids in the world, and they're still only understanding about half of what's happening. Take the implant off, and there's no way to really replace that hearing. So it is. They can still hear, they can understand, but it's still take it off and they're still deaf. For kids, it's a little bit different. The criteria are a little bit different because they're implanting kids as young as a year old. So for that, and the criteria depend on the age. Basically, you just have to show that they're even with amplification, they're not. There's no sound going in. The auditory nerve isn't being stimulated the way it should. Acoustic hearing. A little bit older kids, you can. The evidence that you need to meet criteria are lack of progression in speech and language, because kids need to hear in order to develop speech and language. And so basically, the younger that we can implant these